Good morning and welcome to Mirador TV. Today is Wednesday, the 31st of August. I'm here with Stuart Dolby. Good morning.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm not very well because I had a fall the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
How come? Where?
Well, I fell over.
What? Yes, I know you fell over. Where did you fall over? In your house? Or?
No, just down there on my way to the pub. So it couldn't have been
Or
the
your way?
pub.
Was it your way home from the pub?
No, the fact is that I've got, as being an old person, I've got a slightly balanced dizzy problem. I was walking a bit too fast for my good, and I just sort of fell over. But it's not, doesn't seem too serious.
No, didn't need to go to the doctors or anything. Just painkillers.
No point. I can't get to see a doctor.
Oh.
Waiting list is about 2 years, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
But I've actually talked to Mr. Keith Hayes, and he tells me that it's all about dopamine, and you can get pills for it to steady your balance and dizziness and so on.
Yeah, I was talking to someone. I was talking to Liza recently. We were talking about CBD oil for when you start getting older. Have you ever considered that?
Well, my wife uses it.
Yeah. Yeah, my mum used it after she had her car accident, and it worked wonders. So, I mean, it's not all bad. It's pretty good. But anyway, we will go into the headlines now.
Yeah.
So there's lots of headlines. Biggest one at the moment is Gorbachev has died. What was his son? Is it Vladimir Gorbachev?
Mikhail
Gorbachev died at 91 years old. Well,
that's not bad for Russia.
No, they usually
most
die.
of them get bumped off.
Yeah, they do usually, especially in politics.
Also, life is so hard in a lot of Russia. People just die on the vine, don't they?
Yeah. But we have here from the first headline from the Mirror. Now Britain demands a bill freeze.
Well, who is Britain in this case?
Us.
Us. What, the general public?
82% want to block soaring energy prices.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
80% of 12 million households face battle to pay high costs.
It goes up every week, mate. First of all, it was 5.4, then it was 8, now it's 12. In fact, it's very, very, very difficult to know because people. As I understand it, right, there are 28.5 households in this country.
28.5 million households, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in this country, and given the actual arithmetic of all this, I think about 4 million are now classified as really being very, very poor. But I could be wrong, and therefore not doing well out of the energy benefits, such as they are. But all kinds of things are flying around about, freezing the energy cap so that people can sort of get themselves together. For example, I was just reading this morning that Dermot Nally, the previous regulator at Ofgem, says we ought to have social tariffs so that people who can afford can give it to the poorer people.
What?
Yeah, that's what kind of thing you were advocating, remember? That people who pay, what's it? And then
I don't think I was ever advocating that.
Now, and you've also got this question of businesses and pubs that are absolutely in a desperate situation. They're all going to say that without some help, we don't know what we're going to do. We're going to go bust. I mean, I've spoken to 2 publicans here in Lewis, and one of them, his wife, they live on top of the shop. And when they applied for a benefit, they said, well, you can't have it. You're a business. They said, well, we live here. No, you're a business. And now everybody's saying, Zazar, what his name is, we're going to find some kind of package along the lines of the COVID package. Well, are they? It's going to cost them an awful lot of money. And then Liz Truss keeps saying, I am going to help the poor people by reducing taxes. Well, the poor people don't pay taxes, do they? And so
yes,
on.
They do, yes. Just because you're making over £12,000 a year doesn't mean you're not poor. You could be a single parent with, I don't know, for example, 3 teenage boys like my household, one income on NHS pay is really not very good, and we barely make enough to scrape by.
Yeah. So
I've started paying rent.
Yeah.
Both my brothers started paying rent because we all have jobs now.
yeah.
So we're trying to
what are you
help
saying then? You're saying that you should get support.
Yes, because we're struggling.
Yeah.
I don't.
So you've got to pay taxes, you mean? You're saying you've got to pay taxes.
No.
We were saying the poor people don't pay any taxes.
No, I'm saying.
You're telling me you're poor, but you don't pay.
No, I'm saying the house I live in,
Yeah.
we may barely make enough to scrape by.
Right. Yes. Therefore, you should get some benefit.
Yeah.
But
But my mum pays taxes.
All right. So then it begins to get a bit hazy, doesn't it?
Yeah, she's probably around 20 grand a year, a bit more. I'm not sure actually. I think probably 25
I think in
a year.
the business is that the costs of, say, running a pub are very, very high.
Yeah.
Or running any kind of business is very, very high. Therefore, they should get some kind of relief.
Did you ever get any business relief? But you work from home, you don't have an office.
No.
Did you get any relief?
No, it's not that kind of thing, because it's a business I can run from home, and and I put in my account, and that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, 82% want a block on soaring energy prices. I certainly can believe that. I'm actually surprised it's not higher. But then, so 12% of people don't want to. Oh, sorry, no, 16%. What is with me? I can't
18%,
count. 18%.
Yeah.
Honestly, 18% of people don't want a block on energy prices. Interesting. Okay.
Well, because they can afford to pay the bill, basically. I'm surprised the figure's so low.
Yeah, so am I.
82,000 want the energy cap
82%.
frozen. 80%, 82% want the energy cap frozen. That's what they're saying, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's a big. I haven't looked too deep into it, but a lot of people coming into October are just going to be point blank refusing to pay their energy bills.
Yeah.
Energy boycott.
Well, it's like a poll tax, isn't it? I mean, I think that's the same thing. I think this is a protest that will have to work, basically.
Do you think it will work?
Well, it's difficult to know.
It depends on how many people do it, I suppose.
Well, a lot of people are doing it because they've got no alternative. They haven't got the money to pay the bills.
Yeah, we don't pay our water bills because that's the least important one, because they can't cut you off from the water. So we don't pay them to help pay other things.
Quite right. They shouldn't receive a cent the way they carry on, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially
considering
what you've got to remember, that the water companies are monopolies. Yeah. They're not like the other ones, the energy companies, which are oligopolistic, cartels. We're going to that later.
Speaking, I've mentioned this before, but Southeast Water, 20% of Southeast Water is owned by China.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that strange? Why does China want to own 20% of our water supply?
For the same reason they want to invest in nuclear energy and they want to invest in cyber kind of thing, because they want to rule the world.
Yes.
That is why.
Yeah. That is the reason.
Well, look at Southern Water, right?
Mm-hmm.
A real bunch of villains. They were owned by the Australians, and then they were owned by the French. And if you look at their accounts, their executives get fantastic salaries, unbelievable salaries.
Good job if you can get it.
Yeah. Oh, nice work if you can get it.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Well, I'd refuse that kind of work, wouldn't it?
How much money are we talking? Depends on how much.
Well, I've told you before, like, the energy company suppliers say they're not making profit. Well, as you know, right? The energy companies. There's still a cartel,
Where
right?
are you going?
I'm going to get a book.
Oh, okay. The energy. What?
There was a cartel back in the day of 6 big companies, right?
Yeah.
This is made privatized, these companies, and the big cartel were charging anything they flipping well wanted. Right? Anything they wanted to do.
You probably can't be heard from over there. Just to mention.
Okay.
So start again from the
Fine.
sentence.
The energy companies are the big ones are a cartel. Back in the day, when after Edward Heath lost his job as a prime minister because of the coal miners, they started using gas, and very generally, Mrs. Thatcher, who was one close to collieries anyway, she privatised the energy suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
That meant the advent of a oligopolistic cartel of 6 big companies: British Gas, EDF, E.ON, Npower, Scottish Power, and SSE, which put prices anywhere they flipping well like at the cost of the consumer. Right? Still with me?
Yeah.
Right. Ed Miliband, who was leader of the Labour Party for 5 years, he said, if I get into power in 2012, I think, said I will bring in an energy cap. He didn't get into power in the 2015 election. Cameron did, and he asked the Competition and Mergers Authority, well, I'm going to tell you this all is what you should do. And they said, go cheaper to suppliers. Well, the cheaper suppliers went bust. But the big ones still existed. Cartel of 6, but it's 5 now. And they were actually making, and they said, we're not making profits. What on earth we can do? Well, recently, a little...
Are you doing Energy Matters now?
Well, it looks like it, doesn't it?
Well,
yeah.
do we want to go on to Energy Matters another time? We're still only on the first headline.
Well, this is what we're... All right, it's about... Right, okay.
We'll go properly in depth.
Right, now, Britain demands bills raise 82%. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. Well, unless... Well, we haven't got a government, so we don't know, do we?
We haven't got a government. Well, that's not the worst thing that can happen.
Well, no, actually, Keir Starmer has asked for a freeze.
Yeah.
I think the Liberals have asked for a freeze. Yes, they have asked for a freeze.
The Dems, yeah.
Right. Liz Truss hasn't asked for a freeze. In fact, she won't tell us until she gets elected what relief she's going to have.
Yeah,
And so
the reason for that is supposedly she can't get any information from the Treasury Department until she's Prime Minister.
Yeah.
They won't give her any information, which I think is ridiculous. I feel like it should be some sort of, I spoke about it yesterday, but it should be some sort of freedom of information sort of request type of thing. If it's quite an important matter, to be honest. So I don't know why they're denying her statistics and
well, because they don't trust her, basically. You know, she probably doesn't even trust herself. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
People don't trust a politician. That's weird.
Yeah, really, trust a politician. Yeah.
So that was from the Mirror. We'll move on to the Guardian. Mikhail Gorbachev died yesterday.
The age of 91. It's a good age for
age of 91.
Yeah, 91.
Yeah,
it's a good age for a Russian.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn this light off behind me. Can I continue? Yeah, that is a good age for a Russian. There you go.
Well, it's surprising.
Sorry, it was creating a glare on the camera.
It was never bumped off sooner. Do you know what these Russians are like?
Well, he worked for Putin, so he was probably the one bumping off people.
He was a great man. He did a fantastic job. He disassembled the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
He broke down the wall, and he was the man that Mrs. Thatcher famously said, somebody I can do business with. In fact, that was an incredible thing to do and achieve. And to actually get Reagan into discussions where they were reducing nuclear weapons. I mean, it's almost unbelievable if you think back about it. I mean, even Biden said he's one of the greatest bloody, you know. And so did Kissinger. They've all sort of paid tribute to him. Now Putin's trying to put the Soviet Union back together again.
Are you sure about that?
Of course, it's obvious. Look. He's done Chechnya. He's done Georgia. He's now trying to do Ukraine. He wants the Soviet Union back. All these tyrants, these dictators, want to be in charge of everything. He wants the Soviet Union back. He does. Everybody knows that.
I'm not 100% convinced, but yeah. They also have another headline here. Hunger fears as food banks warn stock may run out. So I'll repeat that because I said it terribly. Hunger fears as food banks warn stock may be running out. So the shelves are disappearing in food banks, which is annoying because.
For mine is mine clear. We always bung some stuff in the Waitrose one on Sunday.
Well, we in my house we had to use the food bank a lot to rely on food and things, and we got off of the food bank for about a year or two, and it's looking like very soon we're going to have to go back onto it because we just are struggling quite a lot. After 2 years of not having to use it, we're probably going to be going back on it, which is a real shame. But it is what it is. That was from The Guardian. The Independent. Save us from 400% energy hikes. Small firms plead with trust. Trust? No, sorry. Trust. Liz Truss. So that's from The Independent. They have a few sub-headlines here, but they are very small. Very hard to read. Johnson gives his farewell tour to the UK in his attempts to highlight his achievements. Okay, yeah. Sounds about right. Do you think he'll run again?
Who?
Boris.
We'll try.
Yeah.
I
I hear from Conservative voters endlessly, and I am of the same opinion that I don't want Liz Truss particularly. I don't want Rishi Sunak. I would rather just have Boris back.
God, rot your cotton socks.
Honestly, no, that's what I'm hearing from majority of Conservative voters. They just want Boris back. So what? He broke some lockdown.
Well, look,
rules.
there's 160,000 of the Conservative, right? Conservative members, all right? Why should 160,000 people of dubious integrity actually decide who our Prime Minister is going to be? There's 3 other bloody parties, man.
I know. I think it's a flawed system as well. But 18 months, 17 months, whenever the next election comes around, we will see.
18 months, isn't it? Like, no, it's slightly less than that.
It's got to be 17, 16 months now till the next election. Do you think the Conservatives have any chance of getting back in power, or do you think it's going to swing to Labour or Lib Dem?
Well, you don't know. Keir Starmer doesn't seem to be that popular, does he?
No, he doesn't.
The poor old
But
kid,
neither did.
He's had look, since I said to you before, he's had a charisma bypass because that whole system has changed a lot. We first passed the postal system, right? But people now vote on an American type style. They vote for the person, not for the party. So people here don't vote for the Conservative Party. They vote for Boris because he's a very nice, cheeky chappy, and he's very good on television. Oh, look, I'm going to vote for him. And his dad, he was on the Celebrity What's It. I'm going to vote for him, definitely. Yeah, that's no reason he can run the country, is it?
No. Well, I feel like he did a better job than most politicians would.
In what sense? No, I agree with you that COVID was a very big ask.
Yeah.
But I happen to know somebody. I happen to know that somebody who works in the Cabinet Office told me anyway, that it wasn't Boris that instigated the whole thing. It was the NHS who got the vaccine in ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So you think of that what you will, but that's what I was told. He's usually a reliable source, but I can't.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah. I was in support of the first lockdown because I was like, well, it's a new virus. We don't know what's going on. It seems to be killing quite a few people. But after the first lockdown, I just didn't pay attention to any of the rules. I didn't care. I thought it was all a bunch of nonsense, which it turned out to be. It seemed to be a waste of time to do lockdowns, and we should never have done them in the first place.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Well, look at places like Sweden and Florida. They never had any lockdowns, and they had the exact same cases as us. And everywhere locked down. Very few places didn't lock down, and the examples that did very well.
Well, I can't believe all that's true.
Well,
I can't be bothered to research it. I think it was a very serious matter, much more virulent than the flu, much more virulent. All right, they now want to say it's like the flu. You've got to live with it. Well, yeah. Fine, but that's okay. I think
okay.
the real investment in the vaccines was really not instigated by Boris, but it was all these Moderna and the other ones. And we were very, very lucky that they managed to come up with, potent vaccines. That was a good thing. And we had 3 jabs, okay?
Yeah.
And then I got COVID right at the end of the 3rd jab period.
That worked well.
And then we went to do the 4th. We had the 4th as well. So
you're going to get the 5th one coming this winter?
Absolutely.
You are?
Yeah. It's like the flu jab. I believe in vaccines.
I do as well. I get the flu jab. I just will not get the COVID one.
Oh.
I think it was rushed. I think it's untrustworthy. It never went through proper approval. We don't know the long-term side effects.
This is a free country.
Yeah.
Don't do it then.
And I didn't. But unfortunately, not everywhere is as free as us, and I can't get on a plane. I'm very glad that we didn't have the vaccine.
You can't get on a plane for why? You've got to have a passport.
You got to have a vaccine passport.
All right.
Unless.
Well, you might be doing the world a favour by staying here.
Well.
If I've got a passport, I think I have.
Yeah, you have to be vaccinated to go to most countries still.
That was very interesting stuff because my daughter couldn't come over and see me because of they needed a passport, right? And so I cancelled the place where she was going to stay, which is the Frontline Club, my club, as we call it. And just as the day came when I was just going to cancel the booking, she said, "Oh, Dad, it's fine. Biden has lifted the thing, so she could come across."
Wow.
Yeah, quite nice, really. But what I think about, first I had to book them, then I didn't have to book. Then I had to book them again. Oh.
Well, yeah, I don't like the idea of the vaccine passport. And you know what? Traditionally, it used to be the left wing who were very anti-big pharma. They were always saying big pharma's bad, it's untrustworthy, but then it completely switched from the left to the right. The right wing doesn't trust big pharma, and the left wing just loved big pharma. Oh, give me all the vaccines. I'm not even going to question one bit of it. And then the right wing were like, hang on a minute. What? How long did this take to make? 8 months? It takes 20 years to make a vaccine usually? That seems a bit odd. We don't know the long-term side effects, and I don't know why that switch happened either. I thought that was very strange.
Yeah, that was a bit strange. I agree with
that. So we'll move on to the Financial Times here. This is your one. Do you want to go through this one? Just the front page for now?
Sunak warns over risk of markets losing faith in British economy.
Say that a bit louder.
Sunak warns over risk of markets losing faith in British economy.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's not hard to do, is it? Facing an economy, inflation reckons to be going to 22%. I wouldn't blame him.
Very bold statement. He warns of risk. Wow. I'm glad he said it because no one else had figured that out yet. Honestly.
No, he just wants to get his name back in the limelight, doesn't he?
Yeah, he seems to not be in the papers very often. I always see Liz Truss more in the papers.
Well, they've all got minders, don't know what to do.
Who do you think out of the two are going to win?
I don't know. I think it looks like Mr. Truss, doesn't she?
Yeah.
He says that there might be last-minute switch.
But I think...
but they're all Liz Truss, all these backwards ones, conservative backwards ones, I call them. They must like old Liz Truss. They like, particularly when she says her heroine is Margaret Thatcher. That puts the cap on it all, doesn't it? Blimey. That really is jumping out of the fire into the bloody... No, well, out of the cooker into the fire, basically.
In your opinion, who do you think would be better for the job? Rishi Sunak or Liz Truss?
I don't think either of them would.
No, I think I agree with you there. But I think the least worst option of the two would be Liz Truss.
Well, look, I told you this before, right? Boris was shrewd enough to actually get a cabinet of second-rate people.
Yeah.
And that's proved out to be the case. Look at, you got Priti Patel.
Yeah.
Who's around the bend, as far as I can see. And also you had Matt Hancock. Nobody in that cabinet is fit to be Prime Minister.
No.
In my opinion.
Not many, no. Well, I still think it would have been brilliant if Priti Patel was Prime Minister.
Well, think of some of the Labour parties of the 70s. That was a bloody cabinet of all the talents: Roy Jenkins, Dennis Healey, Anthony Issue himself. Think about Attlee's cabinet.
Where's the Well, I don't know much about it. That was before my time.
Look, he had Ernest Bevins. He had Aneurin Bevan, who actually created the National Health Service, Britain's greatest achievement, in my opinion, right? And all kinds of things. Attlee brought in the welfare state. Bevins brought in proper trade union behaviour and so on and so forth. But creating the National Health Service was a major, major achievement, wasn't it? So what are Boris' achievements? First of all, he got the vaccine. Secondly, what? Lockdown? Maybe not. And then he's now trying to take the credit for Ukraine by making a fool of himself by going over there. But then he's always going to fall.
Yeah. Well, okay, well, we'll move on to the next headline. We have here from Daily Express. Honestly, what is with me today? From the Daily Express. Farewell.
What would you expect? Of the things we did. I'm proud of all those parties. I'm proud of actually letting Dominic Cummings break the rules. I'm proud of what,
I don't care about anyone breaking the COVID rules. I broke them myself many, many times.
Then you should have been locked up. Absolutely. You young people today, you don't know you've got it so good.
All back in my day. All right. So from the Daily Express, farewell. I'm proud of the things we did. That was a quote from Boris Johnson. I think he really had a tough run, honestly.
I think it was a big ask for the vaccine. Yeah, I agree with that. But then, he's such a bloody slippery person.
I couldn't imagine the hell we would be in if Labour was in charge. We'd probably still be in lockdown.
Well, at least you haven't got Jeremy Corbyn. I agree with that. I mean, it's a pity that Keir Starmer, who's a very talented man, just can't seem to sort of
gather a crowd.
Get rid of his sort of, I don't know, he's hasn't got the charisma sometimes, has he?
No.
And it's very sad, in my opinion, that, people who are stars, who want to think they can be Prime Minister and they can't. It's just, it's terrible that sort of politics has been invaded by celebrity or colonised by celebrity.
Who was the first celebrity to do it? Was it Reagan?
I think the first real celebrity was John Kennedy.
Really?
I mean, he was almost a god. He was so attractive. He was so, and after the very Dullies and Eisenhower and all the rest of it, people wanted a star. And he was a star, and his wife was a star. And they were the golden couple. What was it called? They used to call it, what's the famous thing?
I don't know. I wasn't I wasn't around back then. Yeah. But there is I saw a photo which shocked me. There was a photo of, Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah.
There was a photo of Nancy Pelosi sitting on the White House desk with JFK. I'm like, oh my God, how long has she been in power for? I think she's 86 years old.
Well, she would have been very young, but...
Yeah, she's 86 years old.
Well, being head of that house is not particularly a very powerful job. I mean, Lyndon Johnson was very powerful.
Well, no, it is a powerful job because the head of the house is the third in command for the presidency. If the president and the vice president were to hypothetically die at the same time, immediately the person put in charge would be the Speaker of the House.
It's never happened.
It's never happened, but it is still a powerful position. It is technically possible. Yeah. There is a long line. Well, we don't have this system. I think it would be better if we did. But there is a long line of people in command. There's the president, the vice president, the Speaker of the House.
Totally disagree to your argument.
Really?
Fact is that we have all the countries which have the head of state and the prime minister are not very good at governance. Think of France. Think of America. Think of Ireland. or you've got PR. The fact of the matter is that, what is the fact of the matter? That having the Queen as separate from government is a very, very good thing, because she doesn't piss around with governance. Now, having Trump as head of the state and head of government, as was a disaster. It doesn't work.
No,
It does not work. And I know that you think we mustn't talk about Trump because it made me feel ill. So anyway, I know you're a fan of his, which is, a very black mark against you. He's only an applicant member of the human race, for God's sake.
He's only a what?
An applicant member for the human race.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, he's not a human.
Is he a lizard person?
If he were a Buddhist, he'd come back as a lizard, yeah. Oh, he makes my skin. Well, you haven't shaken hands with him. I have. Oh, blimey.
No, I'd love to meet him, though. I'd love to meet Nigel Farage as well.
Oh, well, that can be arranged. Both of you will fall off on a... You'd like to meet Nigel Farage?
Yes, I like Nigel Farage. I think he's very good.
Oh, good.
All right, so we'll move on. We'll move on to the next headline.
I don't think I want to sit next to someone like you. God, blimey. Where are your values?
From the Metro, Mikhail Gorbachev dies at 91 years old. Born in 1931. That's quite impressive. The world mourns a true man of peace. How did he die? I've not seen any information about how he died.
Died of old age.
Well, I'm sure. But, passed away in the hospital following a long illness. So, yeah, he's dead. From the Times, the app will let patients avoid long NHS waits. That is, on the face of it, a good thing, but I'm sure those apps will be very questionable and have lots of backdoors and will be able to track your entire medical history. And then one day they'll have a suspicious hack and the Chinese government will have every citizen's medical data. So whilst on the face of it, it looks like a good idea, if you actually just think about it for a second, it's really not a good idea. And then, so that's from the Times. What do you think of that?
What's that?
The NHS app will help avoid long waits.
Well, I think it avoids long waits. I think it's a good thing, yeah. But I don't see how it's going to work.
No, I don't either. Well, I'll try to have a look for that full story.
As I understand it, there's a lot of people now going private. I did as well. And a lot of people are doing that. But there are a lot of other people who can't afford it, can they?
The vast majority of people can't afford it.
What is it now? 5 million the waiting list?
5 million? Oh, I mean,
what is the waiting list?
I have no idea.
I think it's about 5 million. It's the last figure I heard.
Last figure I heard was 3 million, 3.5 million. It's ridiculous.
Well, these people might be in agony. You can't.
I was in agony, yeah. I had to go to private healthcare, even though we absolutely could not afford it. We had to borrow money from people just so I could walk again. It was very painful. And the NHS were like, oh, you can't walk. Oh, that's a shame. Anyway, that'll be a 2-year waiting period. So we went to private healthcare and were literally seen within 2 hours. And then within another hour, they took me into surgery.
They're great. When I went into one in Hastings, it was like going to a 5-star hotel. It was very well looked after all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember that when I came out of the operation, the girl said, "Oh, that's most successful so far." So I woke up and said, "I suppose you say that to all the boys." And then it went on, and I had a really nice male Filipino nurse called Derek, I think he called. And I know the Philippines, and I like the Philippines. And I said, "Oh, do you ever get back there?" And he says, "Oh, every 2 years." So I said, "You're sending money back, aren't you?" Yeah. He said, "Yes, they've got to support the family." And anyway, he was really nice, a nice old chap. And then finally, the surgeon came along and said, "Everything okay?" And I got up, and Derek said, don't get up. And he said, most people come here in a wheelchair. And I said, "Well, I'm not in a wheelchair." So forth and so on. He said, "Anyway," and the doctor said, "Okay, fine. I think you can probably go now." So anyway, I said, look, my wife is coming to pick me up, but tell her to hang on for a little while because I'm enjoying watching this film in the hospital. And that's what happened. But it was very good. It was all very, nice and, efficient.
Do you mind if I ask how much yours cost?
$4 grand.
$4 grand.
But it was my fourth, I think, earlier, and I thought, I'm not going to go through this again. There was a 93-week waiting list.
What, for NHS?
Hmm.
How long was the waiting list for the private healthcare?
About 10 days.
Yeah, like I said a minute ago, the waiting list for my surgery was 3 hours.
Mm.
They were like, "Oh, yeah, we can fit you in today. Actually, we can fit you in an hour. Do you want to come in?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my god, I haven't even prepared. I'm so terrified." But it was all good. Anyway, we'll move on to the next.
Well, no, actually, Max, it's a very good point. Is Tony Blair supposed to have invested huge amounts of money in the NHS, but that money went to consultants. And advisors.
Always does.
And it should have gone to all the matrons that always run the hospitals. And the fact is, since then, there hasn't been enough investment in the NHS.
When is there enough investment in anything?
There is, and there is certain you can give enough money to get things done.
Well, here's the point I want to drive home: is 50% of NHS staff are administrators.
Well, exactly, yeah.
So that's ridiculous. I think we could cut the administration department a huge amount. I think they're a drain.
It's Tony Blair's fault. That's what that money went on, and it hasn't been cleared up. Why not? What about Jeremy Pine? Wasn't he health minister for a long time?
I'm not sure. I don't know about
that. Yes,
Jeremy
he was.
Pine.
12 years he was health minister.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. So he should have done something about it. But of course, you've got these dingbat prime ministers on the Conservative Party.
Why do we not have a vice prime minister or deputy prime minister? Surely there should be.
Do you know how much power the vice president of the States has?
Not a huge amount.
None. Virtually none.
Virtually none.
Unless, look, go and have a cup of tea with X sort of, or Queen's coming, can you keep her happy or something like that? But he doesn't have any power. Now, if you had a deputy prime minister here, he wouldn't have any power. Do you remember Margaret Thatcher and Geoffrey Howe? Geoffrey Howe was the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Right. And when he did something she didn't like, he was made deputy PM and had no power whatsoever.
When did we get rid of deputy PMs?
Huh?
When did we get rid of that deputy PM?
Well, we've got a deputy PM now, haven't we?
No. Surely because they would become the PM after Boris left. We don't have a deputy PM.
No, there's no right of succession from a deputy.
Who was the deputy PM then? Was it?
I'm trying to think.
It wasn't Matt Hancock, was it?
No, maybe he hasn't got. Somebody recently had a deputy, didn't he? Let me think.
David Cameron, maybe? I'm not sure.
No.
I'm not sure. Anyway, let's move on to the next headline, which is the Daily Mail. Have police given up on burglaries? The headline from the Daily Mail here. Okay. I'm trying to read this here. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Every year, do you know how many burglaries they solve, percentage-wise? 4.1%.
Yeah, it won't surprise me.
4.1%. I watched my neighbours get burgled once, and the police didn't really do anything about it, even though I saw it happen. That was quite shocking. I was on the phone to the police. I was like, my neighbours just got burgled, and I saw it happen. But my neighbours, even though they got burgled, they refused to cooperate with the police. So that's why that didn't get solved. Because they were like, no, we know who did it, but we're not going to tell you.
Really?
Yeah. They know who burgled them, but they probably didn't tell them because they're probably going to burgle them back. Shouldn't have said that, but it is what it is.
Going to burgle them back.
Yeah.
You live in a bloody burglars suspect, do you? Town for burglars.
My village is very nice.
Yeah, I'm sure
Right?
it is.
It's very nice. Except for this one street. And it happens to be the street I live on.
One street.
One street.
It's one street, right.
One street, and it happens to be the street I live on. It is, yeah.
The street of burglars it's called, is it?
No.
Burglar Street?
No, I have seen, God, how many have I seen in my street? I think I've seen 2 happen. Yeah, only 2. But there's been a couple. No, luckily not my house. But yeah, police seem to have given up on burglaries from, that's what the Daily Mail seems to think. And that seems to be what it is. 4.1% of burglaries are solved. That's a terrifying number. But I wonder how many of that is people not cooperating. Because how often do people get burgled? Isn't usually, I don't know. I have to look into the statistics and do a deep dive. So that was from the Daily Mail. We have the Daily Telegraph here. Okay. So from the Daily Mail here, get back to basics, woke police told. Get back to basics, woke police told. Have you seen this? I see it in Brighton often, and it just gets on my nerves. The rainbow police cars. Have you seen those?
No.
They have gay pride police cars with rainbow flags all over, rainbow decals all over them.
No, what are they supposed to do?
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They're just supposed to be there for diversity quotas to show how much the police support the gay community.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They're all over the place. I'll bring it up.
Oh, well, isn't I don't know about these things, but isn't Kemp Town now called Gay Town? I'm told that it's a huge centre of gays.
How do you spell police?
Police.
Police car. Oh, bet you the first one that comes up is Brighton. And of course it is.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, yeah.
What are they called?
Rainbow police cars or gay pride police cars, or they've just put stickers all over the car to show how much they support gay people.
The gay fellas I know tell me that, Kemp Town is a big sort of gay community.
Isn't the entire Brighton?
Well, you know Brighton better than I do these days.
I know Brighton very well, yeah.
When I was there, it was such a nice place. Such a very nice place, Brighton. Oh, yes. It's never been a bloody nice place. Read Graham Greene's Brighton Rock about the razor gangs and all that kind of thing. And the festering slums, as he called them.
I know someone who used to be a police officer in Brighton from the 1950s to the 1980s there for a while.
Was he corrupt?
No, I don't think so. But he said it was relatively safe to what it used to be.
Actually, once upon a time.
No, sorry. It's relatively safe. It was safe compared to what it is now. Now it's just crazy. Back then, you could walk on the streets and not be stabbed by a crackhead high on meth.
Well, actually, back in the day, I used to write articles for the Argus about business and that kind of thing. And there was a guy who was the police correspondent, whatever it was.
Yeah. And
blimey, they were all as corrupt as a nine-pound. They were incredibly corrupt.
Really?
He says,
in what way?
Well, he'd want to get stories for them about what they were doing and all that kind of thing, And he says, "All right, Joe, fine, here's your money," that kind of thing. Or he would pay them pay them for the stories, put it on his expenses when he got back to the paper. Mind you, right, he was run by a fairly stupid bloke at the time.
What, the Argos or the?
I used to do the business for them.
No, okay, I didn't know that. Mm. How long did you do that for?
Oh, about 9 months or something like that.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they waste their money on gay pride police cars when they could be investigating things like real crimes, and they spend a lot of time on hate speech laws as well now. Have you seen this? hate speech laws. They spend a lot of time prosecuting those now.
But isn't
People
Brighton
can say-
pretty awful place to be now with cokeheads and
Yeah, I'm in there. I'm in Brighton minimum 3 times a week
yeah.
because I have to, but because also I have friends there and it's a meeting place for everyone. It's the middle point of most of my friends because I've got friends in Eastbourne and Worthing and all over the place. So Brighton is where we all meet up, and it is not. I mean, the lanes are nice. That's about it. The beach is nice. I've seen a couple needles on the beach every now and again, which is terrifying because, it's summer. What if some kid comes along and steps on that? It's terrifying. And in Brighton Oldstein, where they have all the bus stops and the pavilion, there are tents all in the green area.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Have to pass the tents all the time, and especially in the morning, it's terrible, which is the time I'm there, unfortunately, because the only people out are the crackheads and the people going to work.
Now that you mentioned Brighton, in fact, I've got a friend of mine in Brighton to see if he's going to go to the 60th anniversary of the University of Sussex, to which I shall be going. It's next weekend.
60th anniversary. Were you one of the first students to go there?
Yeah.
What? Were you the second lot or the third lot?
Third lot. It was opened in 61, and you wouldn't want to be in there. 50 of them, and they didn't have anywhere to have their classes, so they did them in the B&Bs. And Sussex University didn't have any residences then, so we had to go in what Graham Greene called these flea bin B&Bs, and there was this one we was in just off St James's Street, and it was a right old hovel. The lady, Biddy, she was called, and she had a wig on.
Her name was what?
Biddy.
Oh,
and also, she'd come in with this bloody thingy bob. And
This
her wig
thingy
would fall.
bob.
And her wig would fall onto your egg and bacon. It's a true story. That is a true story. And also, being at Sussex University.
Was she high on drugs most of the time?
I don't know. I don't know what she was high on. She was just Biddy. But also, being at Sussex University in the 1960s, it was very, very good to be alive. Because it's compliant, like...
All the amazing drugs that you were on?
Well, I'll come to that because I've just been writing about that and talking to various people about drugs. What happened was that Brighton and Lewis and university together formed part of the swinging 60s. It was an epicenter of swinging 70s. And there was a cultural revolution, the Beatles, music, and so forth and so on. And I did an interview with someone recently about, and what about drugs? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, my wife will tell you, she was there as well, I'm one of the only people, undergraduates, who never smoked a cigarette and never took drugs. That is true story. I've never smoked a cigarette and I've never taken any drugs. Well, apart from aspirin and prescription drugs.
Yeah.
And what happened was that when everybody went there in the early 60s, didn't know what cannabis was.
Hang on a minute. Not only were you a student in a university in the 60s, but then you also went on to be a journalist, and you still never touched drugs.
I've never had. I mean, when I was in
That's
Vietnam,
impressive.
when they also passed the weed around, I didn't smoke it. No.
What was it about it? Well, why did you not?
Huh?
Why? What was the reason?
I can't tell you. I don't know. I just didn't start. I didn't start. And the only drug I take is alcohol, but then I can stop doing that. I haven't done drinks so far. But it was really quite weird, Max, because all these people didn't know what cannabis was, and all of a sudden, by '67, there was an absolute epidemic of LSD, which was the drug of the day. And everybody had it, and I thought, well, why haven't I got it? And because I didn't want it. And also, various girlfriends and people always saying, "Oh, have a fag." It's like if you stop drinking, all your friends get very, very annoyed because they, well, what? Go on, have a drink. So it must be the same with drugs. But I can remember recently going back to Vietnam, being invited back in 2016, and they were all sitting around. There was Tim Page, who's slightly died now. He just died the other day.
Slightly died.
No, I was going to
Okay.
say, and Tim Page was a famous photographer, and he got blown up twice. And Don Wise, the Daily Mirror bloke, said, never met anybody who was much smarter with half his brain blown out. And he didn't. And then I can remember in Laos, where people used to go up and buy a bush in the market. Didn't do it there. I can't tell you why. I'm not being Mr. Goody-Goody. Just didn't like the idea somehow. I think I was sort of frightened of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know. I thought it might just... I think probably as a schoolboy, I think, because I wanted to get into the football team, I thought I shouldn't smoke. I think that's what happened. And it just went on from there, really.
Well, with smoking, I don't smoke, or I've tried smoking, I've tried vaping, I don't do either. Because, so my mum has been smoking for many, many years, a few decades, and she has asthma because of the smoking. Now, I was born with asthma. If I start smoking now, or if I start vaping now, it would kill me. I have smoked before, I have vaped before, and it just hurt so bad. And I have to have my inhaler on me wherever I go. So it's not very pleasant. So I don't touch cigarettes or eat
My
cigarettes.
wife's very asthmatic. She takes the inhaler as well, you know.
Yeah. I've always got one in the bottom of my bag. It's very rare. I haven't had an asthma attack for years, but the threat is always there that it could come back, it could happen.
What about, do you get the other thing as well?
What other thing?
Not asthma, pollen. Which pollen?
No, actually, I don't have hay fever.
Hay fever.
No, which is unusual. But yeah, no, I don't have that.
Well, the asthma is not very nice. She has some terrible turns with it. It really is. Where her bloody lungs can't see, you know.
Yeah.
When I took it, I went off the scale. Went way beyond 600.
Oh, what, you used her inhaler?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no. You're talking about the lung capacity
Lung
test.
capacity, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't use her inhaler, no. The lung capacity, if you get below 200, 250, it's for hospitalisation. She normally comes in about 350, so I had a go at it, and it went to 60. 600 of me. I was off the scale.
I think mine's about 400.
She said, and I said, well, am I like Johnny Halliday then? I've got big lungs. She said, you've got incredible lungs.
It's because you've never smoked.
Probably, yeah.
My great granddad, he was 92 when he died, and he smoked for 81 years. He smoked. He started when he was 11 and died at 82. And he never got any sort of lung cancer, but God, could he not breathe at all.
I'll tell you a story about my family, right? My mother lived to be 100.
Yeah.
My Uncle George lived
Did
to be...
she smoke?
Hang on, I'm coming to it.
Right.
My mother lived to be 100, right? My Uncle George lived to be 98. My Uncle Bill lived to be 101. And Aunt Nora was 94 when she came to my mother's 100th birthday party. And she sent me out for 20 cigarettes called Chilterns. And I brought those back to the party, and she smoked every single one of them. And she said to me, Stuart, I drink gin and lemonade and go easy on the lemonade. And she had 7 of those, and she lived to be 102. So it's all in the genes, Max.
It is all in the genes, yeah. All right, so moving on to the next story here, we have from the next headline, not story. We have here from The Sun, Duchess of Disillusion. I like that title. That's very good.
Is it for Meghan, is it?
Yeah.
No. What's her gripe now, then?
Huh?
What's her gripe now?
She compared herself to Nelson Mandela.
What?
Yeah. Obviously, I can't remember the exact quote, but I think we've got the old Daily Mail headline. I can't remember the exact quote. but she compared leaving the royal family to when Nelson Mandela left prison.
Oh, well, that's just a sort of silly bloody parallel, isn't it?
Yeah, there's also a second headline from the Sun. Have to zoom in. After Meghan's Nelson Mandela comment, his grandson says over 60 years of apartheid is not the same as marrying a prince. That's a very good quote. So I'll repeat that in case you didn't hear it. That's very good.
Well,
After Meghan's Nelson Mandela comment, his grandson says over 60 years of apartheid is not the same as marrying a prince. Brilliant. Brilliant. And it's true.
Well, I started off feeling very sorry for her because marrying one of the royal family is a big ask, you know. I mean, Kate had 10 years of training, didn't she? And, you know, it's not an easy job to take on, is it really?
It's a piss easy job. Come on.
Huh?
It's so easy. Just sit there and pretend to be posh. You have millions of pounds at the taxpayer's expense.
But you can't do anything. You can't go out and rave and have a bloody drink or do this or do that. You're absolutely locked like in a golden cage, aren't you? You really are. It's not a very easy job, man. I don't know why anybody.
She can
I don't know why anybody in their right mind would take on a job like that.
She can wipe her tears away with £50 notes. How sad for her. She's the
Max,
poor multi-millionaire.
Money is not everything. There's other things involved. You know, being other things involved. You know, the money. It's just, you know, you're a prisoner. You're basically in prison. It's just awful. Mind you, I felt sorry for her at first, but now I think she's just, you know, as usual, wants to make a few bob or wants to be famous or wants everybody to love her or that kind of thing. So she does silly things. Mind you, Harry, I should get her that one if you can.
Well, that was from the Sun, and I think we're about to go on to our last headline from the Daily Star. I can't read that. What the hell does that say? What's that say?
Diver. It says Diver Moore.
Diver Moore. I don't know what that means.
I am a diver. I am a diva.
Oh, diva.
Diva, yeah.
Oh. Shy and humble actress reveals shock that she's labelled as a diva by world's biggest... What? I don't care about. You know, the Daily Star, sometimes it has funny headlines. Sometimes it just celebrity gossip I know nothing about and just don't care about. So the Daily Star headline today is not very good, and I don't really care. So that's that.
Don't read the red tops. You know?
Well, the Daily Star does have occasionally very funny headlines, but you know, it is what it is.
Well, I don't like the gutter press. I tell you, my daughter said to me
You
once,
don't like the what?
The gutter press.
Okay.
Murdoch, I abominate because he's ruined our media and he's ruined our culture in some way. And anyway, my daughter said to me, "What's your main achievement in life, Dad?" I said, "Well, apart from you two, I've worked for the Financial Times, the Observer, the Guardian, New Statesman."
You work for the Guardian?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to ask you about that. But for now, we'll definitely carry on this conversation. But for now, we are going to head off. We'll have a 15-minute break. We'll be back at 9:45, and we'll be back for another hour and a half. We will see you in 15 minutes. So thank you very much for watching, and please tune back in at 9:45 live here from the White Hart Hotel. Thank you very much.
Yeah, please,